I hear Dad's voice.
It had been about 2 years since I lost my beloved husband in an accident. To lift my daughter's spirits, I planned a trip to Hawaii. However, while playing together on the beach, she suddenly ran off with shining eyes. "He can't be here in a place like this." I gently reassured her, but she continued running with hopeful anticipation. As we entered a luxurious residential area with villas, I witnessed an unbelievable scene. My name is Olivia. I married Tom, who was 3 years older than me, when I was 22. 2 years later, we were blessed with our daughter, Mia, and the three of us lived happily together. Tom, kind and gentlemanly, had made a great impression on me from the moment we met, and I fell in love with him quickly.
Being with you, Olivia, is truly enjoyable.
I feel the same way, Tom. Time flies when I'm with you. He seemed to view me favorably as well, and soon we started dating. After about a year, we tied the knot. We purchased our own home after marriage and steadily climbed the stairs of happiness. Tom adored our sweet daughter, Mia, and she was a true daddy's girl. He was a loving father and a considerate husband, supporting me as I juggled household chores and parenting while working diligently. I believed that these blissful days would continue indefinitely. Little did I know what awaited us. However, perhaps it was around the time when Mia entered kindergarten that Tom's behavior started to change. Previously, he would come home promptly and help put our daughter to bed, but suddenly, late nights due to unexpected overtime or social gatherings became the norm. One day, as I lay down with Mia to read a bedtime story, she looked at me with sadness in her eyes.
I couldn't see Dad again today. Even on his days off, he disappears somewhere. Maybe Dad doesn't like me anymore.
I gently reassured her. That's not true. Dad loves you very much, which is why he works so hard. Mia's cheeks, on the verge of tears, received a soft stroke from me as she weakly smiled and closed her eyes. Later, around midnight, Tom returned home, faintly smelling of soap. Had something good happened? He seemed unusually cheerful, even humming a tune. "Welcome back. You seem happy."
Well, yeah. I entertained some clients, and we secured a major contract. Anyway, I'm going to take a shower.
His evasive response left me feeling uneasy. If work was going well, he should have the mental space to care about our family and our child. Yet, his actions conveyed none of that. Continuing like this won't lead to any resolution, so I mustered the courage to talk to Tom. "Before you take a bath, there's something I want to discuss. I understand that work keeps you busy, but could you spend a bit more time with Mia?" In response, Tom sighed as if it were a bother. "Mia is feeling lonely, you know? Just spending time together at home, even for an hour or 30 minutes on days off, would surely make her happy."
Your job as a stay-at-home mom includes childcare, doesn't it? Don't push everything onto me.
He interrupted me, shouting, an unusual behavior for his typically calm demeanor. "You used to actively help with parenting and household chores." As shock and disappointment swirled within me, Tom leveled a disdainful gaze.
Who do you think puts food on the table? Don't boss me around with your petty concerns.
With that, he stormed out of the house. Confronted with the sudden change in him, I could only feel fear. And then, the following day, an event occurred that further plunged our family into despair. After dropping Mia off at kindergarten and returning home, I received a phone call from the police. "Hello? What?" "My husband." It turned out that Tom, who had stormed out of the house, had been in a traffic accident. As I listened, I felt my consciousness slipping away, but I held on and hurried to the police station. The officer in charge looked at me with pity and calmly explained the situation. Tom's injuries were severe, and from the clothing and personal items he had on him, they confirmed it was him. I steeled myself and faced Tom's lifeless body. It had been hours since I last saw him, and now he lay there, wrapped in bandages from head to toe. Then, my eyes fell on the wrist watch he wore on his left hand. Despite being battered by the impact of the accident, it was undoubtedly the limited edition watch he used to boast about. A watch so rare that there were only 3 in the entire United States. When I saw it, the reality of his death hit me like a tidal wave. "Honey." I clung to Tom unabashedly, tears streaming down my face. If only I hadn't said those unnecessary things yesterday, he might still be alive. In the end, our argument from the previous day became our final conversation. Afterward, our daughter, who had adored her father, lost her smile, and I found myself regretting that argument from that night. Still, I had to raise Mia properly. Desperately holding back my shattered heart, I searched for work and began my journey as a single mother. 2 years later, my smileless daughter entered 1st grade, her shiny school bag on her back as she attended school every day. However, she rarely shared details about her day with me. To distract myself from loneliness, I often looked through old photo albums. In pictures taken when Tom was still alive, Mia wore a beaming smile. I wish Mia could return to that time. With a heavy heart, I turned more pages and came across a commemorative photo from our honeymoon in Hawaii. Memories of the beautiful sunset at the beach flooded back, and I decided to take Mia on a summer vacation to Hawaii. When I proposed the idea, Mia's surprised expression brightened.
Where Dad went? Well, then I want to go too.
It was a moment when I saw Mia smile again after a long time. Watching her eyes sparkle with excitement for her first overseas trip, I felt a surge of happiness. And so, during summer vacation, Mia and I set off for Hawaii. Upon arriving at our destination, we headed straight to the beach. Mia giggled and played, her first smile in 2 years brightening even my own heart. Taking her here was the right decision, I thought. Suddenly, Mia stood up and exclaimed,
I hear Dad's voice.
I gently reminded her. Sweetheart, Dad went to heaven. He wouldn't be here. Perhaps the excitement of her first trip to Hawaii had gotten to her. Ignoring my words, she sprinted off. I followed, breathless, until she stopped in front of a luxurious villa in the residential area. Finally catching up, I witnessed an unbelievable sight. There, in front of me, was Tom, supposedly lost in an accident 2 years ago, happily spending time in the garden. And beside him stood an unfamiliar woman and a child about 1 year old. The scene resembled a picture-perfect, blissful family. I was speechless with shock, but Mia's eyes sparkled with joy at the chance to see her father again.
Mom, I want to play with Dad,
she exclaimed. I gently reminded her. Sweetie, even though he looks similar, that man isn't Dad. Dad went to heaven, remember? I maintained composure in front of Mia, but my mind was filled with question marks and confusion. Later, I managed to calm Mia down and return to our hotel. Exhausted from playing, she went straight to bed. After putting Mia to sleep, I pondered the recent events. For 2 years since Tom's accident, both Mia and I had lived with determination. What if that person earlier was really Tom? I resolved to find out, for my sake and for Mia's. The next day, I left Mia with a hotel sitter and stepped into the residential area where the man who might be Tom lived. As I approached the house where my daughter had hesitated the previous day, they emerged into the garden. The man, who bore a striking resemblance to my husband, smiled gently and cradled a child lovingly. Their intimacy tugged at my heart, reminiscent of the early days when Mia was born. Yet, I grappled with conflicting emotions. Could I disrupt this seemingly happy family? Should I turn away and pretend I hadn't seen anything? But as a mother, I knew I had to confront the truth. Tom. What are you doing here? I clenched my fists, rallying my resolve, and raised my voice. He spun around, his face paling, unmistakably Tom. The woman beside him furrowed her brow, scrutinizing me. It really is Tom. These past 2 years, Mia lost her smile due to grief, yet she kept living. I confronted him, but Tom retorted.
What are you talking about? I'm Michael Brown. Not Tom. This is a case of mistaken identity.
His dismissive tone both disappointed and fueled my anger. So, I confronted him with a family photo taken on our daughter's 3rd birthday. Not only our immediate family but also our in-laws were captured in that picture. The woman's expression changed from surprise to suspicion.
You really look alike. Are you sure he's a different person?
Stop making strange accusations. I genuinely don't know.
His defensive tone caught the woman's attention, and then he turned his anger toward me.
What's your game? Why disrupt our happiness with baseless claims?
I met his gaze unwaveringly and stated firmly. I just want the truth. If you're honest, I won't involve your parents or cause any trouble. Tom hesitated for a moment, then reluctantly began to explain the situation.
He is Liam. He's mine and Eleanor's.
According to his story, he met Eleanor at their regular bar, and their relationship deepened from there. When she became pregnant, they decided to be together and plotted to disappear from my life. He paid a substantial sum to an acquaintance in the underworld to fake the accident. The body I saw at the police station, wrapped in bandages, wasn't my husband. He had been replaced, dressed in Tom's clothes and even wearing the wristwatch, fooling me completely.
Back in my teens, I was a bit of a troublemaker, and one of my friends got involved in the criminal world.
As Tom spoke, sweat beaded on his forehead. I couldn't believe the connections he revealed. Later, with that friend's help, he obtained a new identity. They moved to Hawaii together, building a new family. Eleanor, it turns out, is the daughter of wealthy parents, which explains their comfortable life abroad. It was baffling why he went to such elaborate lengths. If you wanted to be with that woman, why not just ask me for a divorce? You didn't need to fake an accident using a decoy. But my husband, in a strangely boastful tone, replied,
Well, if I did that, I'd have to pay you alimony and child support, wouldn't I? It was cheaper to rely on acquaintances for various expenses. I calculated the market rates properly.
His explanation left me speechless. Meanwhile, the woman, having discovered his true nature, broke down in tears right there. Tom reached out to her, but she swatted his hand away, glaring at him.
Don't touch me. You've been using a false identity for the past 2 years. Your real name isn't Tom Walsh, it's Michael Brown.
She truly seemed unaware of the situation.
And to think you were married and had a child. It was all a lie. You deceived me, and it's despicable.
Then she turned toward me, her eyes serious, and apologized.
I should have investigated properly instead of being swayed. Madam, even though I didn't know, I'm truly sorry. I'll break things off with him.
Wait a minute. What about Liam? Don't rush into this.
Despite his pleading, Eleanor glared at him with contempt.
What's wrong with you? I sacrificed my family for you, crossed dangerous bridges, and now you betray me over something like this.
Eventually, realizing her determination was unwavering, Tom grumbled in frustration. With a deeply disappointed sigh, Eleanor left with her child. Left behind, my husband looked at me with desperate eyes.
Olivia, you wouldn't betray me, would you? Mia will be starting elementary school next year, and she misses her dad. Let's start over.
Hearing Tom's words, I was utterly exasperated. How could he forget our daughter's age, even though we lived apart? Mia is already in elementary school. You don't care about the family you abandoned.
Huh? Is that so? Well, this is just a little mistake.
I don't want to hear excuses. You have no right to call yourself a father. Despite his frantic attempts at justification, I cut him off firmly. At that moment, any remaining affection I had for Tom evaporated silently. Afterward, I returned home and consulted with the police and a lawyer. As a result, my husband faced legal consequences under both Hawaiian and local state laws. In Hawaii, the offense of assuming a false identity carries significant penalties, and if found guilty, he could spend a considerable time behind bars. His parents disowned him, severing all ties. Even the friend who aided Tom's scheme was arrested. Despite any potential redemption, there would be no one left to support him. On the other hand, I resolved to move forward, determined to live strongly with Mia. As she grows older, I plan to share the whole truth with her someday. However, on that day, my daughter must have felt something when she witnessed her father, who was building a new family.
Mom, it'll be okay. I'll protect you,
she said, her smile reaching her eyes. While Mia might not fully comprehend everything, I held her tightly, vowing that we would find happiness together.
How did you find this story? If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing to our channel. Until next time.